Hi there, welcome to I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Pisces energy, and we're going to see what's going on in Pisces energy, and we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives, because people in their Pisces energy will make different decisions in their life, kind of depending on what drives and motivates them, if they've tempered their more immature egoic nature, have been enlightened to the fact that love is the answer, and they offer love to themselves and to others and maintain balance kind of within themselves, or if they kind of indulge their more worldly nature. It's all about learning lessons, and if you've kind of tempered your more worldly egoic nature, and our worldly egoic nature can be our fear, our insecurity, our pride, our ego, our lust, our greed, being more about ourself, consumed with ourselves, looking to other things to be the answer, and we're all on different scales and somewhere on the journey. And some people are still more at the beginning of the journey, and some people might be somewhere further along. So it's kind of like we got Jesus at that end and the devil at that end, and we're somewhere in the middle. And we're trying to find other people who have maybe learned some of the same lessons that we've learned. To kind of grow up and mature ourselves. And love is to be just and fair, and to treat other people the way you like to be treated. And some people think it doesn't have to be just and fair. And if you're going to be in a romantic relationship, it's more for whatever other reason you want to be in it. And, other people who get in a relationship with people like that don't want to keep staying in a relationship with people like that if they're more motivated to be in relationships more inspired by truth and love. So, Pisces energy is emotional water sign energy, and it is about our dreams of what we think will be emotionally fulfilling and what we could look to be emotionally fulfilling. And some people have realized love makes it all worthwhile, like being in a job, friendship, and relationships with people that you love versus being in jobs, friendships, or relationships more for the status or the ego or the image or codependency or whatever. And also learning to listen to your intuition, which is Pisces can be about, where, a lot of times we have free will, and sometimes we didn't listen to our intuition, and some people still aren't. Our intuition, I think, is like our higher self wanting us to grow to our full potential. But to grow to our full potential, we have to detach from our more indulging, our more immature nature. And some people have a harder time because we all got our own things that kind of manipulate us. And some things that you or I don't, it doesn't manipulate us that way. We have other things that could manipulate us that are kind of a challenge. And other people could have their things that really manipulate them, and we cannot understand it, right? Because we kind of view life differently. We have a lot of cards not showing itself. So on one hand, that can be that, with all the different people in the world that we've known, that we're currently know in our neighborhood, in our family, in our workplaces, we don't really know who's who, right? And everybody kind of wants to try to figure out kind of what's your truth. Are you on the same page as me? Am I on the same page as you? High vibe people are looking for other high vibe people, which would be less prideful, less manipulative, less self-indulgent, less bossy, less controlling, who have illusions about what it means to be in a relationship, and they could think it's more about them being indulged in a relationship or being more about them, and trying to sort through kind of who's who. And the shadowy people are looking for people who view life the way they view it. If they're more about indulging themselves, they want to find other people either who will indulge them or want to make their life about indulging. If they're more caught up, we start out with the moon card, which is Pisces. Some people are just more caught up in the world. The reason to get in a friendship, a relationship, a job is all for being caught up in this illusion of the world, in the Ace of Wands. That's what drives and motivates me. It's more for the status or the ego or the image. And they're looking for other people who view life that way. We all like to hang out with people who kind of view life the same way we do. The difference is the truth sets us free. That's kind of the Ace of Wands and the Eight of Wands. In high vibe, to look at life as an adventure to be lived. And the Eight of Wands is in high vibe Sagittarius, about learning lessons in life. We have a lot of lessons to learn in life because in the Eight of Wands or the Moon card, it can talk about we have a lot of things within ourselves kind of buried beneath the surface that we don't even understand about why certain things manipulate us the way it does and how we can be influenced by the past and our own past life experiences and the type of people we grew up with and other people in our life who viewed life a certain way and what they thought was just and fair and how they lived their life. And then we kind of repeat that pattern because we really haven't kind of been inspired within ourselves to, we had to go on this journey. That's kind of the Moon card. Also, never really thought of it that way before, but we're kind of going through this world and we don't see everything clearly because, again, we have all these lessons to learn. And we're pretty sure, and a lot of times we'll go take this action in the Eight of Cups, which is also Pisces energy, kind of driven and motivated and inspired by certain things that we could think is the answer and that we think is going to make us happy. And we're inspired in the world initially. And I think for the first 30 to 50 years of our life, we're pretty inspired by the world. And the world tells us, and friends and family could tell us, you should make your life about this, and you should do this, and you should do that. I like that. That makes me happy. If you do that, it'll make you happy. And at all these different stages of our life, we went and did different things and pursued different things. And, what we went and invested our time and energy into when we were 8 was different than what we did at age 15. And then what we went and pursued when we were 18 or 21 or 25 was different than the things we pursued when we were younger, right? And hopefully we keep being inspired to kind of listen to our intuition when our intuition tells us it's time to move on. We were at a stage of life, we lived life a certain way, we viewed life a certain way, because we were at that emotional maturity level, kind of like we were at all those different ages and stages of life. But then we kind of listened to our intuition that was part of the journey. There was lessons to be learned there, but you kind of did learn the lessons you were meant to learn there. And now it's to continue the journey and go to the next phase of life. Some people can have a harder time doing that than other people. Because it could require them to, to really kind of go to the next phase of life. We kind of have to emotionally quit investing in an old way of viewing life or living life. And so the Eight of Cups is going to the Nine of Cups, and high vibe energy is kind of where you become independent of an old phase of life. Just like you quit being more like an 8-year-old, a 15-year-old, an 18-year-old. You saw kind of what needed to go, that those were, makes me think of that Bible verse, when I was a child, I thought like a child, I spoke like a child, I reasoned like a child, but as I grew up, I put away my more childish ways of being. So out of kind of love for yourself, and the difference between the One Wand and the Eight of Wands is the Seven of Wands, which is Leo energy. And Leo energy can be where we're either more operating still from our ego nature and our defensive nature, or we work through that to free ourselves and see the truth of some things that manipulate us, that tempt us to keep living our life and thinking and viewing life a certain way, or we really kind of see the truth of it. These are some, when I was at these different ages and stages of life, that is how I lived life. That is how I viewed life. That is, what I found emotionally fulfilling and things I indulged in. But if I really want to keep moving forward, I have to see what needs to go, what I need to quit indulging in, and kind of indulging myself in some more immature ways of being. If I am inspired in high vibe Leo energy of moving forward and continuing to grow and heal and mature myself and feel proud of myself that I did overcome and I went through a phase of life, I saw that to keep moving forward in life, I have to detach from some more immature ways of thinking, logic, or reasoning, right? To keep kind of growing to my full potential. Some things need to be let go of. Well, some people do that. Other people just try to create the illusion they did that. And it's kind of like, I want to look like I like healed or grew or mature or changed also. And then they can want to get in relationships with people who might seem more healed, grown, or matured, or just, or fair, or balanced, or loving, so that they look like they're that type of person too, but they really aren't. They're still the same person they were. And that's where the moon card can be, where some people are just creating an illusion. Oh yeah, no, I've become independent of whatever those old ways of thinking or believing or acting or people or from my ego or my defensive nature, other people in my life that I was maybe more codependent on. I'm ready to move forward differently. But it's just kind of an illusion. They still didn't really deal with the truth of some things that manipulate them, but they want to create the illusion that they have. And then as time goes by, if they're in friendship or relationship with people who really did put some of those old ways behind them, are more independent of those ways of thinking or feeling or behaving or acting or indulging themselves in some way, the more high vibrational people they get in a relationship with think that that is who they are also. But as time goes by, they could realize that, it's kind of like hiring someone for a job who says, oh, yeah, no, I learned all these other things. And I maybe was more immature and whatever at a different job. But I have learned those lessons and I have tempered my ego. And I did put in work and effort to learn these skills and traits or whatever, or knowledge. I'm ready to move forward in life differently. Some of the people they really have. And those people, things will flow easily with those people because they really did get out. They did really learn the lesson they were meant to learn. And that's why things kind of flow easily with them and keep kind of flowing. With other people, it's kind of like, you don't seem to have learned what you said you knew. You seem to be more defensive or manipulative or prideful or defensive or insecure or lazy or egotistical or whatever. And I wanted things to move forward with you, but they're not. So then, we could realize with some people in our life, and it could be getting to know some people because you could have, we all kind of sometimes, we could leave a job, a friendship, a relationship, and we're kind of moving forward in life differently. We're meeting other people and we're trying to decipher, are you more kind of immature and shadowy or bossy, controlling, or manipulative, immature, want to be indulged in a relationship? Or are you more on the same page as me? And the other people that we meet, regardless of what kind of person they are, they're trying to figure out, if you're more on the same page as them. So it's kind of trying to work through these different cards. Some people harness these energies in a more high vibrational way, and some people harness them in a more shadowy way. And everybody's trying to decipher who's who. And some people have already walked away from some people that they knew they harnessed these energies in a more shadowy way, and that wasn't their truth. And we come in contact with all these different people to try to help us get clear about what our truth is. Is this my truth? Do I want to keep doing this and moving forward with this or these people or living my life this way? Or was there something about it that I felt either we weren't on the same page, and sometimes we can have lovely people in our life, but we don't want a more involved relationship with them, right? And so it's like, I don't think this is, and again, Can I like you? Can I be attracted to you? Can I be loving and encouraging to you? Can other people be that way towards me? Yeah, but there's not that special connection to maybe move it forward where somebody becomes more like a best friend, or you want to hang out with them more, or you want to date them or marry them, right? And so some people in our life, they're lovely people, but it's just we could have different goals, ambitions, and where we want to move and how we want to live our life. And there's just something that we don't quite connect on, you know? And then there's some people in our life that we come to realize are kind of more shadowy. So I view this as the overarching reason for the reading, the Death card. So the Death card also talks about detaching from old ways of living life or viewing life, kind of growing up and maturing yourself. And Scorpio energy is fixed sign energy. The Eight of Cups walks away from the Seven of Cups, which is Scorpio energy. Some people in our life are much more fixed. They're kind of not inspired to live life differently. They could, again, be lovely people, but you could know people like, I want to stay at this job. There could be things I don't like about it, but I'm staying here, because they kind of have a little more, the moon can talk about fear. They have a little more fear about stepping outside their comfort zone and becoming more independent, even though their intuition can be telling them nothing's going to change here, is what the Death card can also talk about. It's kind of dead and stagnant. But some people are like, I would rather stay kind of living my life or staying at a job or in a friendship or relationship that might be kind of dead and stagnant, because the thought of moving away from it and becoming independent of it is more scary than staying in it. you know? And some people are more inspired when they could feel like it's gotten to that point where they could feel like they're kind of being manipulated, and it is more their fear that's holding them back. I don't like my fear and my insecurity or whatever to manipulate me. So they kind of get inspired to work through, why don't I? And I kind of view the Eight of Cups as offering yourself that cup of love to work through the emotional confusion and the illusion of something seems to not be right, or what used to make me happy in a way of living my life. It's just like when we were at these different phases of life, just like, say, when we were 18 or 21, right? Well, let's pick 21 as an example. I could have loved living life like a 21 to 24-year-old, but I didn't expect to live my life like a 21 to 24-year-old forever. And then when it kind of gets to that point where maybe I do have some opportunities, or start to think I would kind of like to do things a little differently and maybe not keep doing some of the same things I had been doing, it can be a little scary. For one, I might meet people who are saying, hey, we're kind of more living like a 25 to 30-year-old, and we've kind of put some of those ways behind us, to go on this next phase of life, and detach from some of these more immature ways of living life. Do you want to come with? Just like a person could be offered a new job where it's like, eek, that's kind of scary. That would be different. I'd have to kind of grow up, work through my fears and insecurities. And some people offer themselves that cup of love to get out of that fixed sign energy of continuing to do what they do more out of fear. And so they get inspired to kind of wrap their brain and do that work within themselves to work through their fears and their insecurities, to get out of their defensiveness and their ego about it in the Seven of Wands, to move forward with it. And they really did do kind of the work to change. And some other people didn't. And some people aren't ready to, and some people won't. And some people will try to move forward, but they might not have realized the importance of kind of Scorpio's emotional water sign energy also, just like Pisces. They really kind of might move forward in something new, but later they could come to realize that they could have taken that action more out of fear or insecurity, or that seems like a great opportunity, but didn't realize, oh, I need to do some work within myself, because if I'm going to go to this next job or next stage of life or whatever, I do have to detach from my defensiveness or my ego or being full of myself or being manipulative or being indulging immature behavior in myself. And they will find that out, that, oh, you didn't, you kind of made it seem like you were ready, but you didn't do the work kind of emotionally. And so you're trying to move forward differently, but they're not different. Just thinking, oh, if I just go get a different job, things will be different. Well, if they were having problems in the last job, friendship, or relationship, it's not just to change jobs, friendships, or relationships. We have our own ways of why we were in those old jobs, friendships, and relationships, and we need to kind of see the truth of that too. Can it benefit by being around different people? But not to blame everything on other people that we were in relationships with, because we were kind of drawn and attracted to getting in that job, friendship, or relationship. If we don't see why it was that we were drawn and attracted to whatever we had been in, we still might be drawn and attracted to align with something within ourselves that kind of makes us keep repeating an old pattern. Anyway, let's continue on. At the heart of the reading, we have the Two of Swords, which is Libra energy represented by the scales of justice. If we listen to our intuition and inspired by truth and justice and love and maintaining balance within ourselves and being inspired by truth and love and listening to our intuition, I think things will go a lot better for us. But some people are going to try to move forward in something and they're not really listening to their intuition. The Two of Swords, kind of like Pisces energy, could be viewed as listening to your intuition, because the Two of Swords could be like, well, I could do this or I could do that, and there's a part of me that wants to do this and there's a part of me that wants to do that, in our dualistic nature of self, our more worldly nature, and our more hopeful, believing, loving nature. Are we maintaining balance within ourselves and making decisions in our life that, well, if I do this, that means I do need to become probably independent of some old ways of being, and I need to let that go to move forward in this new thing. And sometimes some people are like, well, I don't know about that. I don't know if I want to do that, but I do want to move forward in this new thing. So they stay still in two minds, like, well, I don't know if I still want to go do this or if I want to go do that. And then it's kind of going back and forth. They really haven't emotionally detached from something else. And then other people are like, well, no, we're ready to move forward this way. And they're like, oh, shit. Well, I didn't know we really had to make a conclusive decision. And that's where some people could feel like some people are kind of shadowy fire sign energy, can be where it kind of seems like people are indulging themselves. It's like, well, I thought you were, maybe when we talked about this, when I could have, or someone, whether it's a boss, a friend, or an employer, or dating interest, communicated with someone, and then the person moved forward with them, well, they thought they had worked through this. And then as they're trying to move it forward, because they're ready to move forward, as time goes by, they kind of realize the other people were like, oh, well, I really hadn't quite made a clear decision yet. I'm still undecided. And it's like, well, that sucks, because we hired you, or we became your friend, or we started dating you, or we got in a more formal commitment with you because we thought you were ready to commit to this and move forward in this. And the other people are like, oh, well, no, I hadn't quite decided that yet. Okay. Let's go see what's kind of at the end of the story that people, and this could be then how people are expecting things, some people how they're expecting things to move forward versus how other people could be expecting things to move forward. You know, and people maybe didn't talk about these things clearly enough, you know? Are you really emotionally independent of that past situation? Are you more independent, you know? I know I've never had a conversation with people like that, but you know, it's kind of like trying to get to know people, and that's what some people are doing right now because of some life experiences they've went through. They're kind of the 7 of Wands in between the 1 and the 8 can be like, stop right there, you know, before we go any further. That Meatloaf song, do you love me? Do you love me forever? Stop right there before we go any further. Do you love me? Okay. And some people are like, wait a minute, you know, and again, it can be just like a job. We're going to hire someone for a job, just like I'm going to get to know someone and date someone. But before we go any further and move forward with it more, in the 7 of Wands, in Leo energy, can be, which is also represented by the sun, I am trying to get to know you to figure out what your truth is. What really drives and motivates you? Are you more independent in the world or are you more codependent? Do you like to be in more codependent relationships? Are you kind of more immature? Are you more emotionally shallow? Do you have problems? Are you someone who goes back and forth? Because in our dualistic nature, we can either be more aligned with our hopeful, believing, loving nature, and we do kind of listen to our intuition, and we have done work within ourselves to be more independent of our more worldly, shadowy nature, of being more about ourselves or more about the world, or being codependent like on our friend or family group, right? And so some people who are more independent are trying to figure out if other people are more independent. And some of the people who are more motivated and inspired by the world or themselves, those people could be trying to create an illusion. I'm not selfish. I'm not more about myself. This isn't more for more materialistic reasons. This isn't for me to just indulge myself. Those people are creating an illusion, trying to get other people to move forward with them for whatever reason they want to be in it. You know, if it's good for their status and ego and image, we should stay in it. If I just want to be in a relationship to feel better, don't you? Let's be in a relationship just to feel better. And as long as it makes us feel better and there's no one else we'd rather be in a relationship with or work for, we'll stay in it. But it's kind of not really being inspired to want to be in it and kind of committing to it, you know? And so let's see what the outcome could be. The 6 of Wands, which is that Leo energy. Is this going to move forward? Being independent of the past, having this new beginning, getting out of our defensiveness, getting out of two minds, and really being inspired by truth and love, whether it's a job or a relationship. You know, are you on board and motivated and inspired to work here, or inspired by love in a relationship, or are you not? And some people right now are trying to create the illusion, oh yeah, yep, that's my truth. But for some people, it's just an illusion they're creating. They still don't know, am I more about truth and love and justice and fairness? Am I still more about myself? And some people are just more about themselves. So long as it looks good for them and it looks victorious and successful in some way, people are kind of bought into the illusion of who they are. People are willing to stay in friendship or relationship or not fire them from that job. They'll keep moving forward in it for as long as it works out. But some people are hiding. It's more about just how it benefits them. Not really motivated and inspired within themselves to really kind of invest themselves in it. And we've all kind of been in friendships and relationships with people who seems like, well, if you kind of keep trying to inspire me to want to go do these things or go hang out, well, then we'll go hang out. But it's kind of like if you were to quit doing that, then sometimes when you have some friends, you kind of wonder, would you communicate with me that you want to go hang out? Kind of like, you know, it's an imbalanced relationship. Why you know, are we equally inspired to move forward in this or are we not? And if we're not, eventually I can get tired of trying to seeming like I'm the one trying to put in the work to move things forward. If you're not interested in moving forward in it, then okay. I will let you go do whatever you want to do, and I will move forward and find other people who might want to go hang out or do things. And same way an employer can feel at a job. Who seems to be motivated and inspired within themselves to want to really put in work and effort to work together with people, less being more about themselves or just for the ego and image of it, but really inspired to work together with us. High vibe energy is about giving birth to something new and kind of let's go on this adventure together. And we've all worked with people who are like, well, no, I want to come with, but I don't really, that's not who I am. And so then it can feel like, say, supervisors or other coworkers or the boss is always trying to get those people to come on, let's go. And the other people are like, it's almost more like begrudgingly going in a way, again, not motivated within themselves to really kind of put in that work and effort to feel proud of a job well done and motivated and inspired to kind of work there and enjoy their day and try to make it an enjoyable situation for everyone, so everyone kind of feels inspired and encouraged and feeling like it's just and fair, right? And sometimes it's a supervisor or the boss or the other people who are the shadowy people, and other people are like, oh my god, it's miserable to kind of work with you because you create this illusion that, oh, it's all going to be just and fair and we all going to work together cooperatively, but I don't think it's just and fair, and I don't think you're very encouraging, or I think you're maybe more full of yourself or manipulative or egotistical or intimidating or controlling. So, Scorpio, Libra, what do we view as victorious and successful? And some people just haven't decided. And while they can't decide, other people do decide. This is how I want to move forward. Is this your truth or is it not? If the people who are more motivated and inspired to be more independent, authentic, warm, loving, just, and fair, and they had some people in their life that are like, oh, I can't decide. Well, those people have probably cut those people out of their life and they're moving on. And then there's people in the world who could be more like, I am more about the world and more caught up in the illusion of the world. And I want to be in a relationship more for the status, the ego, and the image. And let's not maybe have to be more, see that it should be about love. I like you, you like me, I'm attracted to you. And there can be love there, but it's kind of just more motivated. Maybe a little bit more, making your life more about the world, conforming to the world. And if some of these other people that are kind of going back and forth can't decide, well, I'm not sure, because if I do that, then I'm not hanging out with the loving people. But if I hang out with the more loving people, then I don't know if I'd have the victory and success. And both those kinds of people could have left from some of these people who can't decide. Because the other people are kind of clear about their truth, whichever way they want to live their life. And they think how they live their life, they're comfortable with it, they're just and feel balanced about it. That's my truth. That's what I think is just and fair. And everybody has the free will to live their life whatever way they want. And, there's always those people in the world who perpetually stay stuck, who maybe never really want to grow up. And they're looking for other people who are either stuck or don't really want to grow up and maybe still play both sides of the fence. Where it's like, well, I'll move forward in this, But if I meet someone else, it's not committing to something, you know? And while someone else comes along who, on one side or the other, that I think kind of would be in a relationship with me, where I could kind of find that more advantageous than in some way, like, well, maybe I don't have to be as inspired by truth and love and justice and fairness with someone else if I'm in a relationship with someone like that. And I think this is kind of like, I'm kind of realizing I'm getting tired of this. I want to go do something else. Or this one has gotten too much about ego and image. And I think I'd rather be around someone who's more loving. And they just, for some of those people, they just keep going back and forth. Let's go look at this card. The Strength card in reverse, which is also the Six of Wands and like the Seven of Wands. Shadowy people who could be more about driven by the world, and people who want to go back and forth. There's something they don't want to temper their ego about, which could be kind of indulging their more immature nature, because shadowy Eight of Wands and Sagittarius just can be kind of like an immature person. And, they don't, to temper your more worldly, beastly nature, egoic nature, you'd kind of have to grow up and mature yourself. You'd have to get out of your more defensive nature or egoic nature, or more being about yourself nature. And some people have more of a problem with that than other people. And they don't think they would find that as emotionally fulfilling. Because they would have to detach from staying in denial of the truth. The truth sets us free. High vibe Leo is being illuminated to the truth. And some people don't harness their Leo energy that way. I don't want to see the truth. That of maybe where I should temper my ego and maybe more listen to my intuition. I don't want to listen to my intuition, because their intuition, when we're doing anything where we're being bossy, controlling, immature, self-indulgent, whatever, there's a part of us that is kind of telling us that you're being selfish, you're being bossy, you're being manipulative, you're being immature, you're being self-indulgent. No, 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 I don't want to hear that. No, I'm going to stay in denial of the truth. No, 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 I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And then they want to kind of stay in denial of the truth, that they could take action more out of being more about themselves, or the ego, or the image, or the self-indulgence, but they don't want to see the truth of that either. And then when they get in relationships with people, they're hoping that other people stay in denial of the truth. And again, people can create an illusion. Oh no, that's not who I am. And people buy into the illusion, and people move forward with them, and other people will indulge in a relationship for so long as that person isn't kind of more listening to their intuition and kind of defensive to listening to their intuition about them. How many times have we gotten in friendships or relationships with people which from the get-go it was kind of like, oh wow, but there's things we liked about them, like maybe they are kind of wild and crazy, but oh my god, they're kind of wild and crazy. Oh my gosh, they're kind of immature. Or people who could seem like they seem maybe stable and grounded, like someone you could move forward victoriously and successfully with, because in a lot of ways they could seem very just or fair or have justice in the world. And they could be attractive or charming. But there's a part of them that you kind of get the feeling like either they're a little full of themselves, or maybe a little more emotionally disconnected, and maybe lives a little bit more from their mind than their heart. And more maybe about not living their more authentic life, but more caught up in conforming to the world more so than you are. Well, no, you got to wear this, and you got to act like this, and you got to dress like this, and you got to talk to these people, and not those people. And it's like, but we got in a relationship with them anyway, because there was a part of us that, there's things about you I do like. There could be some things that I think are like, maybe this could be a problem. but we can kind of hope for the best, you know? And everybody could hope that other people will kind of change and become more independent of some ways of being, you know? And that, well, I think as people get older, they kind of, it's very hard for people, it's very hard for any of us. If we have a way of living life or viewing life or acting or behaving, I don't know that we should try to change people or expect people to change. They kind of did this debate within themselves, and they are who they are, think the way they think, act the way they act, because they concluded that was just and fair. It's very hard to change people's perspective in life, right? And so as people could get older, they could decide, when I see people that have more certain traits, characteristics, or ways of being, I've already been in relationships with people like that, maybe having that more hopeful, believing spirit, and maybe thinking everybody's more motivated and inspired by love. But I've come to realize some people don't want to do love because you get hurt doing love. That's not their truth. They don't want to do it. They want to be in relationships, can enjoy being in relationships. It can all seem very victorious and successful in a lot of ways. But in shadowy Scorpio and shadowy Leo, they operate more from their emotionally defensive, egoic nature, and it kind of seems more emotionally shallow and superficial. And if I've been in relationships with people who could have been a lot of fun, but they were kind of immature, and they kept kind of being immature, the whole thing is I'm not going to live in illusion and denial of the truth anymore. I'm going to accept the truth about people. And some of those people that, even though I could be kind of attracted to them, might want to be more in a relationship with them, if they have those ways of being about them, they stay in the friend zone. I can enjoy their company. I can be loving and encouraging to everyone in the world and people in my life when I go out and socialize or visit with people. But yeah, no, like stop right there. you know, Unless someone has worked through some of the same things that I've worked through. So if I've kind of detached from certain ways of being, I want to be in a relationship with other people who have detached from certain ways of being. Some more immature, prideful, self-indulgent, having illusions about relationships. Uh, are you just and fair? Are you inspired by truth and love? Oh, did you just kind of want to indulge in a relationship? No, you can go get in a relationship with someone else to just go indulge in a relationship. Are you more emotionally shallow and superficial? Yeah, no. Are you more prideful, egotistical? Yeah, no. I'm looking for people, or just, are you catty, manipulative? I don't want to be in a relationship with catty, manipulative people, and I'm not a catty, manipulative person, and I don't want to be in a relationship with people who are. So it's getting to know people and listening to your intuition, not letting your more worldly, egoic nature drive your life, but with these lessons that you've learned, moving forward, listening, being more inspired to let love and intuition guide you than your more worldly, egoic nature. I'm not going to make a decision more out of lust, greed, fear, insecurity, codependency, or whatever. And I'm going to move forward with people in my life who are moving forward with me, also not operating more from pride or ego, being manipulative, being deceptive, being unjust, being immature. I'm going to keep moving forward with those people. And together we're going to move forward trying to find more people who are more on that page. And there's going to be some people in our family, in our community, in our workplaces that we kind of realize as we get to know them that's not the truth of who they are. Can they be a friend and an acquaintance? Yes. Are they going to be someone that we maybe get more involved in a relationship with? No. So then we have these 3 cards not showing themselves. The 6 of Cups, the 5 of Cups, the 2 of Pentacles, and the Queen of Pentacles. As we could, throughout our life, as we're kind of moving forward in our life and kind of going through these experiences with people, seeing there's some people that really weren't who we thought they were, this relationship isn't going to move forward. I seem to be more inspired to move forward with it than they do. Other people, um, driven and motivated by different things, whatever it is. As we move forward in our life, there's always some people that we're kind of maybe more emotionally distancing ourselves. There's definitely some people in our life that we've probably cut out of our life that we could have seen they were just totally not who we thought they were. And then as we move forward, we're meeting other people and trying to figure out who's who as we keep moving forward, working through the fact that, in the Five of Cups, which is also Scorpio energy, that we could be sad. We could meet some people, you can kind of get to know them. And then with some of the people, they do these things. It's like, oh my gosh, I thought we were making progress, even if it's like a coworker. But I knew that they were maybe kind of acted immature or kind of defensive, or I don't know, something. But then things could kind of change, and it's kind of like extending people grace, because you can always hope that people will work through some issues. Like, why aren't we able to work together in a more just and fair and balanced way? And with some of the people, they could work through those issues just like we've worked through those issues at different times, where maybe we meet someone who does seem to be more authentic, loving, and encouraging. Well, because of past experiences, we could kind of be in the Seven of Wands in between here, kind of defensive, because we've met other people who we thought were more just and fair and loving and encouraging. And so some people could be more defensive, and other people don't kind of understand why some people are kind of being defensive. Like, why aren't you working with me more cooperatively? I don't have ill intentions, but other people, because of their fears of other situations they've went through. And I think high vibe energy is trying to lead by example, where, sometimes when people are kind of defensive, not working with you cooperatively, um, maybe even being kind of a little snarky or hurtful or unkind. High vibe energy maybe has gone through enough life experiences where, does it disappoint me? Yeah, I wish people wouldn't act like that. But everybody is where they're at, and I've been there in my life too, at different ages and stages of life in relationship to other people. So I extend people grace, and I'm not going to stay in my ego about it. Except they are where they're at, just like probably at different stages in my life when other people wanted me to act and behave different ways and I wasn't there yet, were disappointed, but they were kind of like a good role model in my life. Now I'm going to be a good role model in other people's life as I've learned lessons. So just like when we were 15, 18, 21, when we quit being like a 15-year-old and we're more like an 18-year-old, we extended more grace to people who are still being like 15 years old or were 15 because we were there. Everybody is where they're at. Are they going to act and behave in certain ways and view life certain ways? No, because that's not where they're at. The only thing is, as we get older, then we're kind of dealing with people who we would have kind of thought would have learned some of those lessons by now. But you can meet 60-year-olds that still have acting like junior high people, being petty and snarky and bullies and jealous and whatever, and it's like, oh my gosh, some people never grew up, they just kept moving forward in life, creating an illusion that they had learned some of the lessons other people had. And then we get to know them and we realize, oh my gosh, like, you quit growing and maturing yourself practically when you're 15, and you still act like a 15-year-old. But other people we might have a little more hoping for, right? So with some people in our life, it's like, well, there's some people in our life that we already know we could have given them enough love and encouragement and worked together with them, that we completed a whole cycle with them, and we realized these people have a completely different way of acting and behaving in relationships, and probably issues that they haven't worked through or something. But with some of those people we know, we do not view them as people we want to move forward with. And we've gotten out of our ego about it. And we've gotten balance within ourselves about accepting the truth that some people in our life, even though at one time we were caught up in the illusion of them, we have completely seen through the illusion. We're no longer in regret. We're no longer going back and forth about it. We have emotionally grown and matured ourselves and accepted the truth that some people in our life are people that, some of them, even if they were to come towards us and say, oh, I become independent of this, and oh, I work through that, and, I'm ready to be in a relationship with some of those people, it'd be like, that can be people who went scorched earth on people. They behaved and acted so poorly and treated people so poorly that it's like, that's great. I'm glad if you did. But there is such, the trust is gone. There will be no moving forward with those people in a way that you had moved forward with them before. And then there could be other people in our life that as we move forward, I don't know why some people, could have had their own fears and insecurities, felt really out of balance within themselves, had some issues they needed to work through. Maybe they didn't communicate that truth to me. Maybe they had other people in their life that didn't want them to hang out with you, or be friends with you. And kind of either were, some of those people were a primary commitment in their life, like say if they are married, that should be something that's a primary relationship in their life, and you're a friend. Well, their marriage takes precedence, and whatever they could be going through, sometimes people aren't telling you what they're going through, but sometimes some of the people in their life, say they're married, you could be married or single, but the people they're married to maybe don't know if they want them hanging out with you for some reason, and until they work through that, maybe at some future point in time, they would communicate it. Well, until they do, can I be disappointed? Can I be sad? But I'm not going to keep saying sad and disappointed. And I'm going to just realize I don't know why everyone does what they do. I can only look at how I think things are going. And if at one time things seem to be more just, fair, stable, grounded, loving, encouraging, supportive, people acting with character and integrity, and now they're not, well, when people are going down the path of life, kind of people can go in and out of the ditch, because there could be things that as we're moving in relationship with other people, we can work through a lot of things, and we can move forward with people and we can work through a lot of these issues and go through these different stages of life and keep moving forward with some people. But eventually we could get to where everybody's kind of willing to heal, grow, change, mature, or whatever, work through their issues to keep moving forward. But then we could get to an issue where that's an issue that's harder to overcome within someone. And it can eventually be kind of more in our fire sign energy of ourself, ultimately at a core foundational level of more what drives and motivates us. And it could be kind of willing to just feeling more comfortable in your own skin is what Leo can talk about. Kind of this process of becoming, and quit letting more of the world and other people in your life and your ego and all those things kind of manipulate you. And so some people could have worked through those issues where they do feel more comfortable in their skin, less about kind of conforming to the world or whatever, in whatever ways they used to conform to the world. And then that can be where you could add some people in your life where you were loving and encouraging to each other. But then it gets to where maybe one person feels a little more comfortable in their own skin to be more independent of things that used to manipulate them, and the other person isn't there yet. And the thing is, they may never get there. And everybody could kind of have regrets, but people could feel like, well, you seem like you've worked through more of your fears or insecurities and you've become more independent. And I'm still in this energy, so it kind of feels like we're not on the same page anymore. And then I could feel, sometimes it can be hard if someone kind of could have felt like you used to be more codependent on them, and they could like playing that role in people's life, and they could have been a loving and encouraging, supportive person in your life. But then you kind of work through things that used to manipulate you, that now you've kind of come out on the other side of it, and you in turn could be offering them love and encouragement. But now the roles have kind of flipped or changed. And then someone who could have been a loving and encouraging and supportive person in your life, and kind of, they liked you kind of viewing them that way. They could have a hard time, and you could have viewed them, and they were maybe someone who seemed to be more stable, grounded, balanced, victorious, and successful in some way other than how you were feeling or in your life. And then if the roles seem to kind of flip, some people could have a harder time. And that could be a little bit of an ego issue of, well, it seemed like I was that person in your life, and now, you kind of got to humble yourself to admit that I feel like maybe you could have some love but wasn't that what it was supposed to be like from the beginning? And you could have viewed it that way. And you thought it was that way, but you didn't kind of realize that for some people, it kind of was kind of boosting their ego in a way, and maybe made them feel better than you or something, and kind of indulging themselves more in it. And then when maybe the circumstances change, they could have a harder time. And that's something for them to work through, right? I mean, you can stay in the energy of love and encouragement to people, but if something happened where now it seems like, I don't know, we're not really getting along, and I don't understand why. If I've offered truth and love, well, then I'm just going to keep moving forward, listening to my intuition. And if you ever decide at some future point you want to tell me what it was, then maybe we'll reconnect, but maybe we won't. And sometimes there can be people in our life, friends, family, romantic interests, that don't like that we work through some things, because then we did change and we're not kind of the same person we were when they got into the relationship with us. And again, some people like to play that role in people's life, and they don't mind you healing or changing or tempering your ego or growing and maturing yourself in some ways so that you can move forward with them and things seem to go better. But they never thought you were going to look at life or heal to a degree where you're really motivated and inspired to, you know, really transform your whole life in a way where, in order for them to move forward with you, now they would have to do some of this work within themselves. And that's again where some people are like, well, I'm not going to do life differently. I like to stay within my comfort zone, and I might like to be in relationships where I'm the loving and encouraging person to people who might have fears and insecurities because of something that happened in their life. And then I want them to move forward with me in a relationship. It looks victorious and successful, but I wasn't ever planning to work through my regrets of the past and really free myself from things that manipulate me. But because I might seem more stable, grounded, victorious, or successful than you in some way, or attractive, or charming, or social clout, whatever, I thought you had a lot to do to kind of just get to my level. And I maybe never thought you were going to get to my level of just growing or maturing yourself. And I never expected that you were going to kind of surpass me and that I would have to do this work within myself. And that's when a relationship can end. It's like it's one thing to expect other people to change and temper their ego and grow up and mature themselves. And some people could think you should. And you should do that because you want to be in a relationship with me. And some of those people could be caught up in the illusion of themselves and be kind of full of themselves. But they never think that they should have to change. They don't have any healing, growing, or maturing to do. But as people move forward with them in a relationship, they could kind of realize that they do have some issues that manipulate them and why they act the way they act and why they make the decisions that they make, and that maybe they really are operating more from their ego nature or more full of themselves or more defensive or more codependent. And then you don't kind of like to be in the relationship with them with it staying that way. And you could communicate that truth to some people and they keep wanting to stay in denial of the truth. If you keep moving forward like this, then I'm not going to move forward with you. Kind of what you're motivated and inspired by, and what you view as victorious and successful, kind of, in a relationship or a workplace, is different than what they're inspired by and what they view as victorious and successful. And, again, we can't change other people. They have to kind of be motivated and inspired within themselves to be willing to deal with the truth about maybe some things that aren't conducive to a relationship moving forward. So people could have left some job, friendships, or relationships, and some of those places, are kind of hiding that they wish you would have stayed working there or being their friend. But they kind of juggled wanting to see the truth of where things needed to change. And because some people or a group of people or management, if it's a workplace, had their own issues and they weren't willing to require things to change and maybe weren't being a good leader in the world, some places, just like some friendship groups, but some businesses keep having good people leave. And partly it can be because some of the people are codependent on some other people. And so they keep kind of indulging those people in shadowy behavior. And because of that, other people leave, and the people who end up being left could not find it victorious and successful, but they feel stuck, like they need to stay in it. Maybe because they feel their options are limited of where they could, if it's to go get a different job or something. I think high vibe energy and high vibe people encourage other people to work through their fears and insecurities because it starts within them. You can have people in your life who are hurtful, unkind, unjust, unfair, bossy, controlling, immature. Okay. Those kind of people are going to exist in the world all the time. What are you going to do about it? You can keep waiting for other people to change, or you can say, I'm going to be inspired to go live my truth. And I don't view this as victorious and successful. And I'm going to pick up my investment in it, and I'm going to invest in my truth, and I'm going to let go of this. And if it was someone between the Eight of Wands and the Six of Wands and the Two of Wands that I thought I could have a dream come into reality with, which can just be, your adult child, your brother, sister, mom, dad, friend, family member, romantic interest, you had a dream you wanted to bring into reality, which is what the Two of Swords can talk about. I wanted it to be more just and fair and work together more cooperatively. But if it's not, it's not. And I'm not going to keep pretending that it is more just and fair and stable and grounded, or that you're more just and fair and stable and grounded than you are. And I am going to work through emotionally detaching from you, maintaining my distance from you, because I don't enjoy being in friendship or relationship with you. And I'm going to go invest my time, energy, and effort into the people who do work together with me in that way. And I'm going to offer love and encouragement to the other people in my life to move forward with me in that way. And some will and some won't. And I'm going to keep letting people slough off of my life in a way who keep thinking I'm going to keep indulging them in poor behavior. And some of you, we're very loving and encouraging people, and other people keep thinking, because you keep being loving and encouraging and kind of not requiring it to be more just and fair, maybe, that you'll keep being that way. And it's like, no, there comes a point in time where if you show me you're not willing to, within yourself, be motivated to be more just and fair, then I am going to move on. And they're like, what? I didn't see that coming. I just thought you'd perpetually indulge me. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm going to move forward with the people who do move forward with me in a more just and fair and authentic and loving and inspiring way. So just like friends and family members can feel that way with people, employees can feel that way with people, and employees to employers, and employers to employees. It's not going to keep putting up with people's bullshit forever. Well, okay. What's coming up for the people who harness some high vibe Pisces energy that they might not see coming? The Two of Wands and the Knight of Pentacles. Why? Because of the Seven of Pentacles. High vibe people have been trying to encourage other people to move forward with them. The 7 plus the 1 would be the 8 of Pentacles, which is everybody putting in work and effort, looking to the future. Let's all put in work and effort to bring this dream into reality. In high vibe Virgo, in truth and love. High vibe Aries, motivated and inspired. In high vibe Taurus, to invest. In truth and love, inspired by truth and love, to put in work and effort to bring this dream into reality. That's what high vibe people are doing. And because you were inspired to want to bring this dream into reality with truth and love, because you have this dream you're trying to manifest, you see that there's some people that are like, I'm not sure if I want to do that. Can't we just do this more? Let's keep doing this. So what they're motivated and inspired by in their philosophy of life is to keep repeating that old pattern. Let's keep moving forward just like this. This works for me. And the high vibe people are like, it doesn't work for me. I don't want to keep repeating, because we'll all keep repeating a certain pattern until we kind of see the truth of it. And some people have been in job, friendships, or relationships with people hoping this dream was going to come into reality. but it keeps not coming into reality with some of those people. You know, if some of the people are like, I want us to work more cooperatively together and have more series of working together more cooperatively and it going well. That's what I'm looking for. For this, you know, the Virgo Knight of Pentacles is like these slow, steady steps of forward movement. Might be 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but we keep moving forward. That's what I'm looking towards. Whether you're my friend or you're someone who's kind of difficult to deal with in my neighborhood or my workplace, or I'm in a romantic relationship with you. But if some of the people keep being like, you know, and the problem could be, again, with the 7 of Pentacles, which sevens are kind of like the tipping point, some people in their philosophy of life kind of like it, and Aries energy is about the self, they kind of like it to be a little bit more about them. Can't I kind of manipulate you or control you or be a little bossy or be immature or be stubborn or whatever? And won't you just kind of keep staying in denial of the truth and we can keep doing this? Well, you might do that for a while, but eventually, when people kind of keep showing you over and over, eventually you're like, I'm done being an illusion that anything's going to change here. I accept you are who you are and that nothing changes. You keep being motivated and inspired not to get out of your more egoic nature or defensive nature or immature nature. And I see the truth of it. And I'm going to go, I'm not going to expect more of you. And I'm going to keep living my truth and moving forward with people and investing more of my time, energy, and effort into people who do work together with me that way, that do seem to want to keep putting in work and effort to move it forward. And if that's not you, that's not you. And am I sad? Yeah, too bad. But I'm not going to be in my ego about it. I'm going to keep moving forward. And I think as you do that, there's other people in the world who are doing that. And they're looking for people who are more like them. They see other people kind of creating an illusion, not revealing the truth, not taking more inspired action in their life in truth and love and justice and fairness, but being more self-indulgent, being more immature, being more defensive, again, maybe trying to confuse people about the truth of who they are, manipulate people. And they know they could go invest in those people or they could invest in someone like you. Just like as you see people, well, I could go keep investing in these people, or I could invest more time, energy, and effort into getting to know you. You know, I think the more high vibe people are going to find other more high vibe people when they quit investing in the people who aren't on that page. And there's other people who've already moved ahead of life from you, you know, just further, you don't have to know them. Some of them you could know. But other people who are in this energy kind of waiting for other people to come up the path of life. Just like there's other people looking for people to be in friendships or relationships with, or employers looking for employees. You know, it's like, when is anybody else going to come up the path of life that is in this energy? And when they meet those people who it's like, as they get to know them, yep, that's when things could really move forward, because they have people, and you would have people that are more on the same page as you. And it could just be other people who have more grown up and matured themselves and tempered their immature egoic nature. So I think you're going to, in the Knight of Pentacles, you're going to have this new beginning. Because you're no longer more caught up in the world, no longer more caught up in the illusion, no more caught up in the illusion of other people. You've seen the truth. You've reconciled yourself with the truth of who some people are. And you've let go of that old dream and you're moving forward, investing in your truth. Well, they go invest in theirs, which is different. What's coming up for the people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Pisces energy that they might not see coming up? Well, I view the Queen of Cups as Scorpio energy. Kind of more worldly, shadowy people can always have people in their life who love them. But some of the people in their life who love them do want to be in a more deep, meaningful relationship with them. But the more worldly, shadowy people harness their Scorpio energy in a more shadowy way that they don't show people. They create the illusion they're more motivated and inspired by love, but they could get hurt doing love. And so it does stay a more superficial, shallow relationship where they're just kind of indulging themselves in it for how it benefits them. And they hope that other people, because they like them, because they love them, because they're attracted to them, because it could look victorious and successful in some way, that those people will kind of give up their dream of being in a more authentic, loving, just, fair, balanced relationship to settle for the illusion. Because that's what the more worldly, shadowy people do. They could work through their fears, their insecurities, their past pain and heartbreak. They could quit indulging their more worldly nature or immature nature or codependent nature or egoic nature. But they never work through those things, so they think other people won't. But what they don't see coming is that there's always going to be more high vibrational people in their life who they don't realize do this work within themselves to work through how they might harness this energy in a more worldly, shadowy way so they can free themselves from it. High vibe energy of love wants us to free ourselves from the illusion and things that keep us stuck, to work through our regrets of the past, to offer love to ourselves and the past, and accept that people are where they were at, and we can't change other people, but we can heal and grow and mature ourselves to free ourselves, to go manifest our dreams into reality and quit letting those things manipulate us. But some of the really shadowy people are never going to do that. But some of the high vibe people in their life are. And they don't understand maybe how those people do that, or even why they do that. Why would you do that? Why not just do this? Make your life about this. Make your life about the world. Blah, blah, blah. Make it about me. Make it about these things we indulge in. We look victorious and successful. Because the other people are listening to their intuition, and their intuition is inspiring them to love themselves enough to work through these issues because they don't like it continuing to manipulate them. And the Eight of Cups. It's hard. In our Scorpio nature, again, it's fixed sign energy. Taurus is fixed sign energy. Leo is fixed sign energy. When we invest in people, it's kind of like we get into our Scorpio, our Leo, our Taurus, and what is the other one? Aquarius energy. We kind of tap into those when we're in the midst of something, emotionally, mentally, in our 3D nature, in our fire sign nature, because we're motivated and inspired to bring that dream into reality. And it's hard to walk away from something that we have invested in, that we had this dream that it was going to move forward in this certain way. But again, we could have not wanted to see the truth of some of the people that we were in relationship with. Well, then we kind of got to face the truth that we didn't want to see the truth of. And forgive ourselves for the fact that we really wanted these things that we maybe didn't listen to our intuition. And our intuition could have been telling us, you should not get more involved in this, but we did. Well, then Scorpio talks about the fact that we're these emotionally complex human beings, and it's hard to emotionally detach ourselves from people. And we kind of in our more fire sign energy of ego, it's like, but I offered them maybe truth and love and encouragement. Why aren't they investing in truth and love? Because in their Gemini nature of self, that's not their free will choice, and they don't want to. Because they maybe have to work through these ways of living life or viewing life, or work through their past pain and heartbreak, or quit being more about themselves or indulging their more immature nature. And their idea of the dream life could be in a relationship, to be in a relationship with someone who does indulge them in their ego or their immaturity, or doesn't require them to heal and grow and mature themselves. And we need to accept the truth of it. And they're going to have some high vibe people that are going to work through their own fear of walking away from them and becoming independent of them, because nothing changes. It doesn't give birth to anything new. And they feel kind of like maybe that people who they love tried to use the love that they had for them to manipulate them and control them, or juggled them, or are being stubborn or prideful or superficial or shallow. And they don't want to stay in relationships for reasons like that, so they're going to leave. And I think for some of the people, they don't know how other people do it. How do you free yourself from the things that manipulate you? Well, I was willing to deal with the truth that the things I was investing in were making me sad. And I could have felt like people weren't being truthful. And I could have felt like people wanted to be indulged or were being immature, and that people were juggling the truth. And people weren't really investing in me. And when I was investing in them, and kind of maybe learn to value myself and appreciate what I brought to the table, I realized I do deserve love, where maybe before I didn't. It's people can be very loving people, but if other people, so it's always to kind of get in relationships with other people. Oh, look, they're sad. Oh, look, they're hurt. Oh, look, they're defensive. Oh, look, they're defensive. Look, I'll go get in a relationship with them. I will try to change them. And part of it can be because we could be repeating a pattern. I'm used to being in relationships with people who are like that. I'm not used to being in a relationship with people who want to invest in me and are loving, treat me the way I treat them. It's like, well, that's different, and that's kind of uncomfortable. And I'm not used to that. That's like new territory. And that's what the moon can be, moving into new territory. But when people work through their fear because they don't want to keep repeating an old pattern, and during the process they learn to love and believe in themselves, I do think I deserve love. And I do think I deserve to be in relationships with people who treat me the way I treat them. And that could be different, but I started to play that role within myself to treat myself with love and respect. And so now I don't like being around people who aren't in that energy and within themselves, and to be in that energy with me. And now I'm ready to be in relationships with people who also think they deserve love and have learned to love themselves. And that's what some people don't know about. Shadowy people can be where they always create an illusion. Like, look at me, and look, I got in a new job, I got in a new friendship, I got in a new relationship, got a new job. Look, I've changed, I've healed, I've grown, I've matured. And it's all about trying to create this illusion. But they haven't changed at all. They are the same person, have the same way of viewing life, viewing themselves, as they did before in the last job, friendship, or relationship. And they could think, and they could see some high vibe people moving forward really swiftly and seeming to have these new beginnings, like they really have changed. And they could think you're just putting on a better illusion than they are. But you're not operating from your ego. You are inspired to get balanced within yourself, to get out of your more egoic nature and be more inspired to really love and believe in yourself. That's high vibe Leo. Being a loving and nurturing and encouraging and supportive person within yourself, you have the free will to align with that within yourself, or be in your more belittling, berating, I'm not good enough, and drive your life off into the ditch. And you chose to love and believe in yourself. Let go, because you let go of the old Two of Wands, which could have been you more aligned with your worldly nature, or fear nature or looking to other people to validate your worth and value, that's high vibe Virgo. I am going to validate my worth and value. And I am going to appreciate what I bring to the table. I'm going to invest in myself to grow and heal and mature myself. And what some people don't realize, you're not the same person that you were before. You've completely transformed your life. And you worked through the regrets of the past of people who could have juggled you, and worked through the regrets of the past of people you could have juggled. You know, we all have growing up and healing and maturing to do. And you've done it. And you weren't willing to go back and forth about the truth, to stay in friendships or relationships with people who you don't feel authentically motivated and inspired to work together with you, inspired by love, but would maybe be willing to stay in the relationship for some other reason. It's like, you can go do that with someone else. I'm going to go invest in my truth and loving and believing in myself and finding other people who want to do that. And so as more high vibe people move away from people who at whatever stage of life they're at, or age or emotional maturity, have people who are more emotionally mature or inspired within themselves to move forward in life differently, and they refuse to become independent of a way of living life that they love. Well, I think eventually they'll, the people who they probably do primarily align with, and other people that will probably keep staying in a relationship with them, are just other people who are more caught up in the illusion of the world, who don't want to be more independent from the world, could just be making their life more about conforming to the world, or being in relationship to be in relationship, to be in relationship to indulge in relationship. Maybe to be in relationships with other people who don't want to work through their regrets of the past or ever get more balance within themselves. So they both kind of stay tipped out of balance, and it could be a mismatched relationship. But, to each their own. There could be some people who like to be in relationships with people who are bossy and controlling. Oh, you are just my kind of person I like to be in a relationship, male or female, for whatever reason. It could be a pattern, and that is the pattern they enjoy. It's just that sometimes I think it's funny that some people who are maybe the Eight of Wands can be like an immature player or just an immature person. They could get in a relationship with someone who either perpetually, like a parent would a child, is willing to be in a relationship with them regardless, because it's this constant like, oh, I'm going to be this loving, encouraging person, and maybe because that person builds their ego off of it. Or someone who is also more codependent and just get in a more codependent relationship. And maybe none of them ever want to become more independent. Or they might stay in a relationship with people who, if both people are kind of shadowy, but they both create the illusion they're loving, but it's really more about them or indulging themselves or how it benefits them in their ego, image, or status or social clout. They could both be hiding, they'd like to walk away from it, but because it creates this illusion that benefits them, they're willing to stay in it. And they could hide that it's not very authentic or loving or warm, that, because of these issues in their life, they keep going back and forth. And because they keep going back and forth, it's like repeating the same pattern, just with different people, different jobs, different friendships. And then when it doesn't work out, they're like confused why it didn't work out. It's like, well, you'd have to be willing to see the truth about maybe how you're superficial or shallow, or stubborn or prideful or egotistical or manipulative or immature. But if you don't want to see the truth and you're not inspired to work through these issues, You never change. You just change jobs, friendships, or relationships. But you keep bringing you there. But you could be kind of full of yourself and think everybody should want to work together with you for some reason. And people don't because they don't really enjoy it. But because they've had other people who kind of indulge them that way in friendships or relationships or marriage, they keep thinking other people should want to. It's like, no, maybe that was grace extended to you at one point in time in your life. But people aren't going to keep indulging people in poor behavior, but some people keep thinking people will. And I think as they move forward, it gets harder and harder to find people. Just like employees could have been shitty employees when they were 18, right? But if that person is still a shitty employee at 45, do we not think it's going to get harder and harder for them to maintain a job? And same way, they get older, they could look more stable, more grounded, more attractive, more charming, whatever. But as people get in a relationship with them, it's like, oh my God, you're like a twit. They're not going to keep staying in a relationship with them. But other people who might have some of those same issues and have a problem, that's why if you think about any employers that you left because they had a bad supervisor that they didn't want to get rid of because they were codependent on them, might end up having a lot of immaturity and cattiness and bullyish or whatever, going on in the workplace. And it just becomes worse and worse. It is nothing to feel proud about, and it's all this illusion and hiding that maybe there's complete chaos, but everybody wears the false mask that everything's wonderful, but lots of people could be really unhappy there. But everybody wants to keep staying in denial. Just like people in friendship groups or family groups. No, let's all stay in denial. Let's all stay in denial that we act this way or this person acts this way, but none of us are willing to speak the truth or illuminate the truth, so we just keep indulging them in their poor behavior and hope things will change. Well, people who indulge themselves in poor behavior and aren't taking action in truth and love and justice and fairness and growing and healing and maturing themselves, it's like people who do drugs and alcohol thinking that's going to be the answer to change their life. And they keep doing more and more of it, thinking it's the answer. Why isn't this working? Because they're not dealing with the truth. So I think over time, what could have started out small could get worse and worse over time because people are not willing to hold other people accountable for their actions and keep indulging them in their poor behavior. So there you go, Pisces. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.